Barnsley, good to have you on the show. So, I mean, obviously you're a man of a certain age, politest way to put it.
That's right, yeah.
And your memories go back a long, long way.
Well, they do, and I am a man of a certain age and attempt to grow old as disgracefully as possible. My memories do go back, and one of the earliest ones is, I suppose I remember the day the last war broke out. Just remember it being announced on the radio.
And was it, especially, well, not a special occasion, but especially noted in Scilly, I suppose?
Well, yeah, I suppose so. I mean, I remember incidents throughout the war, as people of my generation will. And it was interesting with a Hurricane fighter squadron here and about 1,000 troops stationed. Yeah, interesting times.
Yeah, my father was one of the troops, in fact.
Was he indeed? Do you know, Steve? I didn't know that. Yeah, good.
Yeah, he was a sergeant gunner, which is why I was born here, actually.
Well done. Yeah, good.
Yeah. So, you were born and brought up here at Normandy, then?
That's right. Born in the big house down the road, and left school to work on the farm in 1949, when the farm had 2 Shire horses, which I wasn't too comfortable with working, but shortly the first tractors came, and they were the little Ransoms, the MG1 it was, Caterpillar tracks, and I started working them, and of course throughout the years progressed up through MG1 to MG5 or 6, and then Ferguson T20s, and then tractors after that. And yeah, I'd really enjoyed my farming life. Inherited a great, well, father had a great deal of knowledge and was expert on daffodils, and indeed we grew 150 varieties here. A little bit of conflict there. Father was interested in seedlings and propagating and showing flowers, and left me to do the commercial side a bit, which I enjoyed. But they clashed occasionally, but we didn't have too many arguments.
What sort of age were you then when you started to work on the farm?
17. 17, and we started at 7:30 in the morning and worked till 12 o'clock on Saturdays. That's normal hours, but there were overtime as well. And flower seasons, crikey, I mean, you would take the flowers down to the quay in the truck, and sometimes it would be 11:30 or midnight before you got your flowers onto the boat. You always hoped that you got the flowers loaded on the boat before the mermaid shut, so you had time for a pint on the way home, you know.
So, presumably at 17, you weren't quite old enough, but near enough.
Well, yeah, but my memories, from 17 to, 30s when all this sort of thing happened. And, there were good times, hard work, but hard work never killed anybody.
No, how many people did you have on the farm, working on the farm in those days?
We employed five staff, and of course there was father and me. And then during the flower season, we had 5 or 6 ladies in the tying shed, and they would be tying flowers often till 10:30 at night. Different, because all the flowers when I started would be picked in fat buds or open, and then given a drink in the sheds. All flowers were potted and packed in the early days, sort of young open flowers. A lot of work. And in wooden returnable boxes or salesman's boxes. But I also remember I got involved at an early age with, it was in those days called the Isles of Scilly Bulb and Flower Growers Association. An old Mr. Gibson, General Gordon, that lived at Holy Vale, was sort of the chairman, but I was secretary. Then I took over the chairmanship and was involved with the first cardboard boxes that took the flowers from Scilly to the markets. And that's an interesting situation because, I forgot who was on the committee then. Charlie Mudge was on the committee and several others, and I chaired it. And we had samples of corrugated cardboard boxes from Reed's, from Bowaters, from Tillotson's. And this was a long meeting to see if they would take strain. We'd stood on them and looked. In the end, the first cardboard boxes that were made for flowers from Scilly, the contract was given to Tillotson's, and they subcontracted to a firm in Nottingham called Integrated Packaging. And that was owned by Mac Mace. And the first time I really met Mac Mace was when, as a young chairman of the NFU, I went to Nottingham to meet Mac. I think he met me in his Ferrari or Maserati, and we had a look at the factory, and he made the first flower boxes for Scilly.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, because you still see a lot of the wooden boxes around still, because a lot of the small holdings use them for traying up potatoes.
Well, they do. In my earliest memories, there used to be a wood boat that came from Finland, and Monroe's had a store on the quay, and farmers would give the order of wood they wanted to come from Finland, and this would come, and farmers would help unload this boat, and used to make up your own boxes. They were 24-inch and I think 24-inch and 32-inch boxes for the different varieties of flowers. And apart from the wooden boxes, you would order your sticks for keeping the flowers in the boxes, and they would have to be dowelled with dowels in the end. When I think of the work that was involved, and it's involved, and now it's evolved to a different industry altogether. And unfortunately, smaller growers haven't been able to compete, and that upsets me. A lot of the smaller farmers here who were excellent. I mean, they help on the golf course and they deliver post, because there isn't a living to be made out of the smaller farms. It's a tragedy, because they were good farmers and very involved in the business. It's always been very cooperative here. There's no really big farmers, but all the farmers worked well together, and lots of happy memories.
You mentioned earlier about the well over 100 varieties of cup stuff, daffodils in other words, but of course the industry now has changed completely, isn't it?
Changed to Tosettas primarily, very few daffodils, and I applaud the growers that continue. I mean, I think of Keith and Robert Hale, who are excellent growers, and they still work hard, and technically have kept pace with modern developments, and they know more now about Tosettas than I ever did, and long may they continue, because what would Scilly be like without flowers?
Yes, indeed.
What we really need is an abattoir, because what would improve the irons would be some more bullocks and local meat.